What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson. I'm your host. We might knock this thing out on Thursday, October 13th. If you're listening to the podcast the day after, it's probably Friday, October 14th. However you consume the podcast, we appreciate it. We're live on YouTube after every primetime game from now until the end of time. Joining me to break down a game that occurred on a field and involved football, people who profess to be football players. I would give the game the same grade Pete Prisco gave EJ Manuel. Big F.
Well, quickly, this game or last week's Thursday night game? Which one was?
I would take this game over that one because the expectations and
the last play was actually somewhat exciting.
Yeah, I mean, the second half was not miserable.
I mean, they scored 19 total points, but I can't even disagree with that.
I thought this game was way more fun than last week's game.
Last week's game was fun for 7 minutes while it was limping to overtime. Washington Commanders moved to 2, and both teams, the Bears and the Commanders, moved to 2-4 as Washington beats the Bears 12-7. If I were to tell you, if you told Ron Rivera you're going to be outgained by 175 yards, 1.7 yards per play. You're going to run 16 less plays than the Bears. Carson Wentz is going to go 12 of 22 for 99 yards, no touchdowns, and somehow no interceptions. Do you think Ron Rivera is chalking this up as a W or an L?
I think Ron Rivera is wondering still why he had to release a statement today defending the idea of trading for Carson
And
Wentz.
he's also not even letting you finish your question because he's resigning as you're finishing it, so that he doesn't have to work for Dan Snyder.
I'll say this in Carson Wentz's defense, as Debo has moved on to greener pastures, so he can't do it. Right. I thought he played better than 12 of 22 for 99 yards.
Yeah, I was surprised by that.
And if you, I can't.
Best block of the game.
A fantastic block. And maybe his future is a Tim Tebow tight end. But if you compare the stat lines for the two quarterbacks, and you had to guess just based on watching the game with no sound or no stats or scoreboard, you would probably think that Wentz had Justin Fields' numbers and vice versa, because Justin Fields probably got hit. How many times he had 27 attempts? He got hit 27 times, and 25 of those times he needed help by his teammates to get him up off the turf.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Justin Fields didn't have any. At no point did he have a independent neurologist check him out, because he was taking some big hits, some low hits.
He needed an independent body blow specialist to check him out, because he got everything he took was it felt like it was below the waist.
So I think that the Washington is probably just bad, and the Bears are probably not good. But the bigger concern for me with the Bears is what the schematic approach they took with Justin Fields in this game, and that you would have Justin Fields, who is an incredible athlete, just sitting back in the pocket trying to read this Washington defense, and he didn't do a very good job of it. He had the touchdown pass, and then he had some scrambles and a huge play to get down to the goal line. They didn't convert.
And real quick, the touchdown pass, obviously a good throw, but it came on a 12-man on the field where there was no risk for him. So
there's a free play.
So you let loose a little bit more on a play like that, and
maybe you should tell him there's always 12 men on the field, because he plays very conservatively. And I watched one television, just the regular broadcast. The other television was the prime time all 22 or whatever. So you could sort of see early on he missed a lot of open receivers, and he took a lot of hits. Kirk Herbstreit talked about that early in the broadcast. And then other times guys just weren't open. And then, Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, who previously Green Bay, is that right? I believe.
Yeah, he's the tight ends coach. Maybe
and I think this was talked about on Twitter. I don't know if Herbstreit mentioned it or not, but to your point, Brinson, it's like a square peg round hole situation.
QB coach, excuse me.
With why are we trying to fit Justin Fields into the scheme? Why don't we fit the scheme to Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson style? What are we doing? We're overthinking. I think we found someone who's actually worse at their job than Matt Canada, so that makes me feel good as a Steelers fan. But I'm sure it doesn't make Justin Fields feel any better.
Or Bears fans.
Or Bears fans. It feels like he's being grossly mismanaged.
Didn't it feel like Matt Nagy all over again?
Well, I don't want to put that on Getsy just yet, but I will say I'm sure part of it is it's Fields, because he doesn't look great. But then again, Trevor Lawrence doesn't look great. Trey Lance got hurt. We don't know. Mac Jones has been up and down. So it's still too early to cast aspersions. But you would imagine that Trevor Lawrence feels like he's in a much better situation with Doug Peterson. Mac Jones is in a better situation, even though, he got what's his face calling the plays. But last year, the offense looked certainly much better. And Justin Fields looks like he doesn't have a chance. The offensive line stinks. As you know, they're not trying to get him use his legs on design runs. Like Carson Wentz had more design runs than Justin Fields in this game.
Yeah, it's kind of unfathomable that they don't use his legs. Or, I mean, and I know we don't want to cut the field in half or whatever, but roll him out and give him more.
They did roll him out. Absolutely. I mean, that's fine. And he had some successful
defined reads. Like, I mean, clearly he's not. And look, his offensive line is not very good. But like that first, he was standing there. He had a lot of protection on one of those early ones. He just wouldn't let it rip. Like he's not seeing the field very well.
Well, and the other part of that is literally on every single one of those in the first half, Kirk Herbstreit made sure to point it out. He was stopping the game like, look, here's 3 receivers Justin Fields could have hit if he had paid any attention or if he felt comfortable making a real NFL throw. He's got to realize a guy who's only open by 8 inches is open in the NFL. And we heard Jay Gruden has said that same thing about Kirk Cousins a few years ago, that you're waiting for him to get open by however they were getting open in college or in practice. And that doesn't happen in the NFL. If they're open by a foot, if they're open by 8 inches, 10 inches, they're open. You got to get the ball there. And it seems like Fields is afraid to make those throws a lot of the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked Brady Quinn about that a couple draft cycles ago. Just how is it that when, these kids have been playing in these 7-on-7, doing 7-on-7 forever, going back to 8th grade, why can't they get through progressions? Why can't they just let it rip? He goes, I don't know. If we knew the answer to that, quarterback play would be a lot more consistent. So I don't know what the answer. Like, I don't know why he's staring at someone that Herbstreit pointed out early in the game in the first quarter and didn't just let it rip. Worst case is it gets intercepted. Who cares? You play on a terrible football team. You're trying to get better. I think it also points out that how incredibly difficult it is to judge these quarterbacks. Because I remember during this draft cycle, people were very angry that Justin Fields wasn't getting his quote unquote due, like Trevor Lawrence and to an extent Trey Lance, and people were very angry about the whole Mac Jones thing. You just don't know. Like, you don't know how this is going to work out. And, I saw Roger Sherman. Is that his name?
Yeah, from The Ringer.
He was saying how during the draft process, everything you heard about Justin Fields was that he was so incredibly accurate. And here's the thing. I just watched CJ Stroud today, a couple games, and Bryce Young too. Those guys are throwing to players who are wide ass open. They have all 5-star guys running routes. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, if he were there. We know about all the guys that Mac Jones had and Bryce Young had at Alabama. It's a completely different game. I mean, yeah, they're incredibly accurate, but I mean, Breech would complete 85% of his passes because, number one, he can throw the ball 45 yards down the field, but also no one's going to touch him in the pocket. So I think that's the math you have to do, and I don't think we should be so quick to sort of think everything's about something when, a race or whatever, when in fact it's just about we don't know what these quarterbacks are good or not good at. I will also say this, Velus Jones, you're not helping my man. That's 2 fumbles in 2 games as a returner. Amir Smith-Marset, 2 games in a row. You fumbled in the game last week. The ball hit you in the face late in the game. That could have been close to a 4th down conversion on a long 4th down. So he's not getting help. And Brinson, you mentioned the offensive line sucks. Roquan Smith had a great game until Carson Wentz, as someone said on Twitter, put him into the transfer portal, which I thought was pretty fun.
God, that was a brutal hit. I can't believe Wentz did that.
I think nothing sums up the game better than the fact that the game-winning touchdown drive was 6 yards.
That was awesome.
That's pretty good.
Although it should have been 70 yards, whatever that final drive was, but Darnell Mooney, their best player, double caught the ball, which would have been a touchdown had he caught it cleanly. What are you making a face for? You don't think so, Breech?
No, it would have been a touchdown, but I mean, it's not like it was an easy.
It hit both his hands.
Holding the ball with his hands.
What did you want him to do?
He had the ball in his hands, and then the ball jumped up, and then he got the ball back in his hands, and he wasn't in the end zone.
And Breech is making excuses for him. That's why the Bengals will never win a Super Bowl.
I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just saying that if Fields would have led him a little more to the sideline, they had.
Oh my God! Are you
you're
blaming Fields?
He wasn't. I'm not blaming Fields. I'm saying
that like it.
He could have thrown it more.
Fields missed a ton of easy throws.
That wasn't one of them. That was a good throw.
Hit. He got hit while he was high pointing for the ball. Like, this was not easy at all. I'm not going to blame a receiver for trying to make an absurd catch.
What do you think Darnell Mooney would say? Should he have caught it?
Yes, he would absolutely say that.
Why do we have
these,
somebody's got to have a weird stance? So like every podcast, like this is like Breech's hill.
I will die on this hill right now, Brinson.
That's a weird one. I thought you'd be more excited about Tressway punting the ball 87 times and his leg not coming off.
Here's what I wasn't excited about was what the Bears did, not even in the red zone, inside the 10-yard line. 3 possessions, 3 where they had the ball inside Washington's 6-yard line. They came away with 0 points. They ran 11 plays on those 3 possessions. They called 8 passes and only 3 runs. They're averaging the running backs. Let's not count Fields because those were broken plays. And so we won't say, we don't know, if we'll only count the running backs. Okay. Running backs average 6.5 yards per carry. So why are you passing the ball 8 times and only running the ball 3 times when you're running all over Washington? I don't know how a team that never throws the ball ends up throwing the ball only inside the 6-yard line.
Particularly when it's a condensed space. It's harder to complete passes in there. And we'd seen Justin Fields like gets you out of a great play that is it Ryan Griffin that he was going to?
UConn's own.
Yeah, he it was like a little like sort of RPO-ish, and then but like that play action incorporated in there.
Is that when Fields threw into the stands?
I mean, just throw it up in the air, and the guy's running underneath it. It's a touchdown. The Bears had 20 first downs to Washington's 14. They went 5 of 13 on 3rd down, but they went. The problem is they went 1 of 4 in the 1 of 4 on 4th down, 0 and 3 in the red zone, and 0 and 3 on goal to go. That is just not going to work. You're not going to win any football games when you do
bad ball, as the people in the in crowd say. What about this?
By the way, this game could have easily been a sneaky shootout.
Yeah, super sneaky. Like
it's been a sneaky blowout if the Bears scored on any of the
Bears. I'm saying if the Bears if they convert their goal to goes. I mean, when they ran. Let's see,
the final score should have been like 24-7.
Still would have hit the under.
Because Washington got a fluky touchdown and Chicago scored 0 points. No field goals, no touchdowns, and they got inside the 6-yard line 3 times.
All right, Breech.
It takes away from.
They ran 11 plays and came away with 0 points and 1 interception and 2 turnover on downs, right?
Nathaniel Hackett thinks that's pretty good, by the way, just so we're clear.
He would take that.
Breech, you're the special teams guru on this podcast because no one else wants that stupid job. Tell me what you think about this. 4th quarter, just under 2 minutes to go. 4th and 4 from the plus 30-yard line, up 5 points, and your Washington Commodores kick, and Joey Slye hooks one.
I would have kicked it. I get going for it because the Bears didn't have any timeouts. And
what about punting? Like, how bad that the offenses have been on both sides. That's like one of the times where I think punting sounds stupid from the plus 30. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I just feel like you kick the field goal, then there's no way you can lose in regulation. At the minimum, not only do the Bears have to drive and score a touchdown, but they also have to get the 2-point conversion.
So the success rate, according to BenBot, for the 46-yarder, I think is what it was, 71%. What was it?
48.
48-yarder was 71%. To go for it on 4th and 4 is 45%. And it was pretty even in terms of whether you should go for it to kick the field goal. Again,
what was the punt recommendation?
There was not one. I was looking for it. Like this.
I would not have had a problem at all if they punted. Herbstreit was talking about it. Like your defense isn't very good, but that offense, you don't feel like they're going to go 95 or.
It took a Justin Fields 36-yard run to the end to get inside the 5-yard line, and he was freelancing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, make him go further. They had no timeouts left at that point. So, I get kicking the field goal, I guess, but
48-yarder in Chicago, like. It's weird because you're on the Chicago 38, and if you punt from there, you feel like such a coward. And if you
Chicago 30.
Oh, it was the Chicago. Oh, you're right. It was the Chicago 30. My goodness gracious. Yeah, I think that's where you almost wish you were at midfield.
Right. That's like who did it a few weeks ago. I can't remember who did it, but you take a delay of game penalty so you don't have to answer questions about why.
That was Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
It's like 4th and 1 on the goal line. And he's like, take a delay of game so that way nobody can question me. That's like right in the tough zone where 48 in Chicago, like Joey Slye had kicked.
He only kicked 2 field goals this year. He made them both, but they were both over 40.
I'm sorry, he only kicked 2 in.
He's only kicked 2 field goals the entire season.
Oh,
But
no,
going into tonight.
Yeah,
Wow.
you don't go for it there. I'm 100%.
But he made them both. But he made them both. So it was 100%.
I would have been fine if they went for it.
I would have ranked it punt, go for it, field goal. Because even if you go for it and fail, unless you throw an interception like you're Lamar Jackson, the ball, at least you have those 8 extra yards at the 30 as opposed to the 38.
Yeah, but that's not if you go for it and you fail, you don't give him. Yeah, you're basically like forcing him to get an extra first down.
Unless you Lamar Jackson it and throw an interception.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, it was I thought the other thing that was a mistake too was the Bears went for it on 4th and 16 with 3 timeouts. When you do the same thing, punt, like.
Well, that's when Smith-Marsette got hit in the face mask. Like he had his hands like he's trying to catch a pumpkin, and the ball hit him in the face, and 4th and 16, he caught it like the 14.5 yards down the field. So, I mean, granted, I take your point, but it's like no one was willing to help Justin Fields tonight except for Dante.
Well, I mean, even if he catches it, we don't know he gets first down because the defender is right on. But he might have broken the tackle. We don't know. But to Brinson's
you say that
point,
that was a tough catch for Smith-Marsette? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that's what it was. But he also dropped it here. I'm defending. But even if he caught it, I am saying that he's not necessarily getting the first down.
Yeah, he wasn't 100%.
But to Brinson's point, that was 4th and 11, which it's like, yeah, you should go. No, hold on.
Oh, right.
You're thinking, yeah, this makes sense. It's late in the game. There's 2:30 left. Probably should go for it. And they take a delay of game penalty. What are they doing? Like, it's already 4th and 11 in a horrible situation you ever want to be in, especially this late in the game and you're trailing, and you take a delay of game. Are you kidding me? And then I think at 4th and 16, I feel like you punt there too. With 3 timeouts, you try and pin.
The Baldwin bot had 18% win percentage to go for it on 4th and 11. 14% to punt there, 13% for a field goal attempt. So you go for it on 4th and 11. Once they got the delay of game penalty, it moved to 14-14-8. So at that point, when you got to 4th and 16, just punt it. You've got 3 timeouts. And look, they got the ball back anyway in this basically the same sort of position because they got lucky and Joey Slide missed that field goal. But like, just punt it. Ron Rivera is going to run 3 times and punt it right back to you. And then you're going to, you're going to get your shot. I did not like no one's been doing anything on offense all night. You're going to go for it on 4th and 16. Like that's a really hard conversion.
I have serious concerns about the play calling,
especially when real quick. Sorry to finish Brinson's point that the Bears did not have a single pass play, or they didn't. They had the long play to Pettis for the touchdown, but besides that, they only had one play the entire night that went over 16 yards. And the Pettis play was a free play. So, again, no pressure. So, one play beside that went over 16 yards.
Meanwhile, Wentz had no plays over 20 yards. Was 17-yard to Terry McLaurin and a 18-yard, to Cole Turner, the third-string tight end who was playing because Logan Thomas was out, and I think John Bates was out with a hammy pregame. So, yeah, there wasn't a lot to work with.
He hurt himself in pregame warm-ups, I believe.
I mean, I think our buddy Heath from Fantasy Football Today tweeted this out. He said these 2 teams are also in the same league as the Bills and the Chiefs, and that's hard to sort of wrap your head around how bad. I feel like this year's there's been some truly terrible football, maybe because we've been subjected to it on Thursday night, like the last 2 weeks. But I feel like there are a lot of crappy football teams this year too.
Well, we noted this like 3 weeks in. It's like there's a lot of parity across the league.
But I don't mean like average football teams. I mean terrible football teams.
I mean, Tom Brady talked about it. He said, "Man, he's like there is a bunch of bad." He's like, I watch it. There's a bunch of bad football being played. I saw Brandon Thorne, who does his Substack Trench Warfare and also writes for Establish the Run, pointed out that there's really just no, and this is probably what to your point, Wilson. There's not a lot of. There's like basically 1 or 2 good offensive lines right now. And
and guess what? They weren't playing on Thursday night.
Right. But like when you have a bunch of bad offensive lines, it's going to lead to a bunch of bad football. Like it's just, I mean, like the Chiefs and the Bills are good. Who else is good?
Eagles. Don't disrespect Billy and Debo.
Yeah, of course the Eagles are good. Sorry, I forgot.
But if the playoffs started today, or the draft started today, the Vikings would have the 30th pick.
Yeah, there's not a. I mean, there's one team that's 5-0, and I mean, two.
Is Dallas good?
I don't know. I mean, they have a really good defense.
Giants, they're 4-1.
I mean, come on. There's one 5-0 team, 4-1 teams. Everybody else is basically like, right there around 500. It's going to be a really interesting playoff race because of that. I'll tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the longest touchdown drought of our lives next. So we mentioned bad football. Well, poor Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit. They went 90, I think it was 106 minutes of game time without a touchdown. Like before Dante Pettis scored that touchdown, which by the way, that could have easily been overturned.
No, that was a touchdown.
He was juggling a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think?
If Roger Goodell hadn't buzzed in and be like, give that touchdown's going to count.
You think it could have been overturned, Breech?
It looked like there was a tiny bit of movement when he got his first foot down, and then he firmly had it with the second foot down, and then his third foot went out of bounds.
Breech, you're a very weird little man.
I'm agreeing with Brinson. I don't think
I thought I was when they were coming back from commercial. I guess I just missed them kick the extra point. I thought they were going to be looking at it when they came back. I was surprised. The previous Thursday night football touchdown was Joe Burrow to.
Oh man, I thought you were going to ask me, Brinson. It's a Bengals touchdown.
It was the Bengals.
Hayden Hurst.
That's
Double H. Triple H's little brother.
I mean, just an outrageously long time without a.
Who's
touchdown.
H?
Harry.
Like who's next? Harry. By the way, so that game 3 weeks ago, that was the sort of Tua concussion, everything changed game. And maybe, speaking of Roger Goodell, maybe he said, listen, we want some really boring football. I don't want anything to be controversial at all. And they went overboard for 8 quarters and said, all right, no one's scoring anything, and we're going to try to literally kill people with boredom.
And then, as boring as these games were supposed to be, they both went down to the final play.
What happened last week? I can't even remember.
Overtime. Broncos, Colts, field goal. Russ Wilson going for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal to tie.
Oh, that's right. Shout out to Brinson for trying to make this thing overtime with the stupid Twitter.
I mean, it felt like 15-15 was coming.
Brinson willed it into existence.
There's no way both these teams were scoring 15 points. Maybe.
I mean, the Joey Slye could have easily made that field goal to make it 15, and then you just got it like they were 1 yard away or like 5 yards away. Touchdown.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Look at that. Billy found something that like is culturally relevant to me and Wilson. And Breech, I guess. I always forget Breech is our age.
Yeah, he's got Breech's high school haircut, so that works out.
I mean, the other thing too about the Bears, I'm not sure why they didn't give Khalil Herbert more carries. Like I think he and David Montgomery should basically be splitting the carries. Velus Jones Jr. you mentioned, like that's the only help they got. Justin Fields this offseason. I guess they got Equinami St. Brown and
exactly.
Just got somebody else.
I'm glad you said
Harry.
He should have gotten more carries, Brinson, because when on that final possession for the Bears, 3rd and 4th, or 3rd and goal from the 4-yard line, the clock is stopped at 42 seconds. You are just pounding the ball, running it. You are just steamrolling the Commanders. Do you think about running it? Because, that play's not going to, if you don't get in, the play takes maybe 4 seconds. It's going to be 4th down if you don't get in, and you have 38 seconds to get off your next play, which is almost the same as what a play clock would be. And I just feel like the Bears automatically thought they had to throw the ball when I think they had enough time to run the ball. And if you just get 2 or 3 yards and down to the 1 or 2 yard line, then Washington has no idea what's coming on 4th down, and you can run whatever you want on 4th down because it's 4th down, so it literally doesn't matter. So
you're talking about the end of the game, obviously.
End of the game, yes.
Yeah.
I thought
you could run it on the last 2 plays.
Yes, I thought they could have run it on 3rd or 4th down.
Here's the thing.
6.5 per carry from the running backs, and they did not.
Here's what I've come to realize. I don't know why it's taken me 85 years to figure this out, but I think what makes fans so freaking angry is that when they watch something happen, not just once, but consistently over the course of 3, 4, 5, 17 games, and they can figure it out, and they still have to go to their jobs from 9 to 5 and do all the other stuff, take the kids to soccer practice. And these people are supposed to be experts, and they can't manage to come to that same conclusion. 80 hours a week they're working on these things. It makes you wonder, are you cut out for this line of work? Because you're overthinking it. And BMAC talked about this on HQ. I think I mentioned on the last podcast. Offensive coordinators are sort of egomaniacs. They want to show off. And instead of doing the right thing and just running the ball, as you know, Breech, they were like the Jack Del Rio on that defense had no answers to the run game. And I'm talking about the actual run game, not Justin Fields going crazy in the backfield and then sprinting downfield for 15 yards a clip. I feel like those two downs, third and fourth, you run it and you win the football game.
They didn't even cross their mind.
Justin Fields completed barely more than 50% of his throws.
It defied logic. It's like these teams didn't understand. The Bears and Washington both feel like they don't understand the concept of fashioning, their system, their setup, their choices around, the personnel that they have. I mean, and I get that, I saw somebody in the comments mention that, the Bears receivers were open and Justin Fields just needs to pull the trigger. And that's fine. But
well, that's what we said earlier, that he's not doing that. He seems scared to, afraid to, or just afraid of throwing the interception.
Right, if he's not pulling the trigger, then you need to set up something where he is more easily able to pull the trigger. Like figure out a way to help him out.
By the way, Billy mentioned. Go ahead. I was saying Billy mentioned. I thought you said go ahead. Go ahead. Then I'll mention Billy's comments.
Go ahead.
Billy mentions in the comments Justin Fields' helmet interception. How bad was that? Terrible. Like he hit that dude. It felt like he hit him in the throat. And I only mentioned that was the early first half interception. I only mentioned that because on that last drive that Breech is alluding to, there's another pass that was knocked down that could have very easily been a run instead of trying to throw the ball out to the perimeter. So I don't know. Here's the thing. We've been arguing about or yelling about Justin Fields only throwing the ball 88 times coming into this game. So maybe that was part of the game plan. I still think it's okay to run the ball when that's your best option on an offense that looks truly terrible.
And I also thought the Bears kind of botched the end of the first half. They somehow completed a pass, got down to Washington's 45-yard line. The clock was stopped with 5 seconds left. They had one timeout. So you throw a pass to the sideline, gain like 6 yards. You can throw a pass to the middle of the field for 6 or 7 yards. You can run a play in 5 seconds and in 4 seconds, gain 5 to 7 yards and give yourself a shot at a field goal. Nope, they throw a Hail Mary. So it's just like it's the same thing with the goal line plays then. It's just like there was no forward thought from this team, which I guess is why they're 2-4. But it was just amazing how badly they botched the key situations in this game.
Indeed. All right, real quick, Ron Rivera. I'm gonna try and get this. See if I can make this work.
Oh boy, you gonna say the bad words?
No, it's bleeped out. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
They've played their asses off. They have. They play their asses off for everybody. They come out and they show up. They work hard. All right. They don't complain. Okay. They hear all this stuff and they got to deal with it. I get that. And I respect them for that because they're resilient. They come out. Everybody keeps wanting to say, I didn't want anything to do with Carson. Well, I'm the guy that pulled out the sheets of paper, that looked at the analytics, that watched the tape in the freaking when we were at Indianapolis. Okay. And that's what pisses me off because the young man doesn't deserve to have that all the time. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Rivera stormed off after that. Of course, he was asked about the report, and Seth Wickersham and Don Van. Did that audio come through okay?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
I got the sense that Ron was not happy.
We should have gotten rid of the bleeps.
That was the CBS Sports HQ.
Hashtag no bleeps. Hashtag no bleeps.
Yeah. Billy's new around here. He's like, just send it to me. It's like, no, just hold the laptop, bro.
Another weird flex by Breech. He wants more cursing on the podcast.
So in Seth Wickersham and Don Van Natter's lengthy story about Dan Snyder and why, and I think, do we want to cover anything else in the game, or is we okay to pivot to this?
I don't think either team is going to make a playoff run.
I don't think.
Speak for yourself. Bears won the Super Bowl.
This is a long story about basically, and Seth and Don are very well connected when it comes to owners and the league meetings. They know people. These are how they get these stories out there. They talk to a lot of owners, personnel people, and it's very clear that there's a sense that the league wants Dan Snyder to sell this team. And you heard Al Michaels on the broadcast as well say, he's like, this is just.
I have the quote.
What's that?
Just my feeling. I think that what the league would love is for Snyder to sell the team. He's just become a major problem around the league, obviously.
And like Al Michaels is not talking to like janitors.
He ain't talking out his butt.
I know. Yeah. If Al Michaels is saying that on the Amazon Thursday night broadcast, he has
a reason.
very good reason to believe that that's what the league wants and what the league is trying to have happen. Did you guys read the story today, right? Like it's long.
Well, I love that Kirk Herbstreit just went dead silent. He's like, I cover 90% college football. I'm not getting into this.
Peace out.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the big things too is that it seemed like, so for better or for worse, you can, if you're an NFL owner, you are not going to be frowned upon by your fellow owners for losing football games, for doing things that society would frown upon, but you will be frowned upon if you lose money. And now Dan Snyder has been reported, as sort of everybody kind of knew, has really botched the attempt to try and get a new stadium. FedEx Field is the worst stadium in the league by a pretty wide margin. And Washington fans don't want to go there. The media setup is miserable. The fan setup is awful too. Remember the collapsing? Jalen Hurts almost got killed when the thing collapsed last year. Point being is that it seems like it's coming to a head. Dan's in the story too is like Dan Snyder's like maybe having owners and Goodell tailed by PIs and digging up dirt on all these guys and basically blackmailing, or is he bluffing? What was y'all's takeaway? I'm just curious, like takeaways from that, and or do you think it's hard to imagine Snyder selling unless he's absolutely compelled to.
My takeaway is that Snyder does not care that people hate him, and he loves owning the team. And he's always been sort of a lone wolf. Like, I don't think he's like, I don't know a lot about owners and how circles they run it, but I've had people tell me that he's like a weird dude. And like, he's even among billionaires, he's sort of like the weirdo of the bunch. So
I've seen him leave like owners meetings just by himself.
It's weird to me. Like, he made his own money. Like he earned his money in whatever line of work whatever widgets he was making. And then at 34, he bought the team. And just another example of someone who's extremely successful in one walk of life being completely ignorant how to run a football team. And then on top of that, coming off as a huge douchebag, just based on the reports we've read, and we haven't even talked about all the sexual misconduct stuff going on those reports that were never written down. Then we don't know how far and wide those things go. So, I don't know. Like, owners are about making money. Owners are also probably up to things that we don't know about, and they prefer that stuff not come out. And I think that has probably insulated Daniel Snyder to a large degree. But you can bet your ass that there's an opportunity to make more money, and that requires Daniel Snyder getting the old boot. 24 owners are going to vote his ass out. And I just don't think we're at that point yet. And we don't know why, but I have a guess. And, we'll see how it goes. But, the history is full of powerful people staying in power despite the things they've done.
And how many damning articles have we read about Dan Snyder without anything happening? I mean, the guy, I don't want to say he's Teflon. There's never been any sort of smoking gun that can take him down. He paid out a sexual harassment lawsuit, or he settled it. And so, like, he has all of these things. He had the workplace misconduct, which also involved sexual harassment. I mean, there's just all of these things that have happened either with him directly or under his watch, and absolutely nothing has changed. Maybe it's changed over the past 12 months, but it hasn't. It went a long time before that happened. We're talking over 20 years. And so if he has not had to sell the team by now, unless he is literally caught on camera doing something, I can't imagine he is going to be selling this team anytime.
And I think it says a whole bunch that he could walk away with. What did the Broncos go for? $4 billion or something?
Yeah.
Is he the sole owner? There must be partners.
He bought out his minority owners recently.
So he could walk
because
away.
they were trying to sue him.
Yeah.
He could walk away with billions of dollars, but he said, nah.
Washington is the sixth most valuable franchise.
I'm going to lean into this thing, take all the hate, bring it on. I'm going to be a pariah. He'd go retire on some island that he built out in the middle of the ocean if he wanted to, but he prefers to show up at this game looking like he just got pulled out from underneath the train where he'd been sleeping for 2 weeks. I mean, I don't know, man. It's
the other thing
wild.
too is, like, if you're like running an NFL franchise, it's one thing if you're like good, they never win. Like, at some point, aren't you like, just give me the $4 million, I'll go buy a basketball team?
Let me ask you this: how much do you believe the Carson Wentz stuff in the story based on how vehemently Ron Rivera has since pushed back this evening.
I think it's probably closer to a middle ground, but I would assume that Daniel Snyder was pushing the Wentz thing.
And
imagine this press conference if the Commanders had lost. Like, I feel like it would have taken a different tone, and you're allowed to be more defensive and more abrasive when you're coming off a win and you look smarter and Wentz didn't cost you the game.
And I'll say, I've been sort of saying I don't think Ron Rivera was not that his seat wasn't hot, but that he wouldn't get fired just because he's built up so much cachet in the organization. The sense over the last couple of weeks is as they've continued to lose games. I think I was probably wrong there. I mean, I think Daniel Snyder's reemergence, and it's interesting in this piece,
he's not supposed to be running the team though.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, NFL spokesman declined to answer questions about whether Snyder's suspension has ended, saying in a statement that Goodell's decisions have been, quote, based on a comprehensive workplace review conducted by Beth Wilkinson, and the grounds were identified in the public statements, blah, 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 blah. A league source says Goodell is operating on the premise that Snyder is still under active investigation and his limits imposed on him will continue. But it's like Snyder hasn't missed a game yet. It is like very clearly involved in like every aspect of this football team.
Well, he was supposed to give up, obviously, day-to-day control of team operations. That was supposed to be handled by his wife. But even in the statement that Rivera released on Thursday after the article came out, he said, hey, I went to the Snyder's house and talked to Dan and Tanya about Carson Wentz. Well, if Dan Snyder's not supposed to be involved, maybe he needs to like go to the basement while this conversation's happening, or maybe Ron says, hey, Tanya, why don't you come to the facility because we need to talk about this move we want to make. I mean, you're still admitting that Dan Snyder's involved when he shouldn't be involved. So, like, it's crazy that Roger Goodell and the league are trying to say, hey, we punished this guy, when in fact there's been no evidence besides the $10 million fine that he has been punished.
Breech, that's called gaslighting. No, you see him out there yelling and screaming at people. That's not him. That's something else. That's a figment of your imagination. And
the hologram. From two black holes,
right? It's the Will.i.am hologram. We're being gaslit because of all the other things beneath the surface that we don't yet know about. And when push comes to shove, we'll see if Dan's bluffing or not. But I would imagine he probably has some dirt on these guys. I thought it was funny that Jerry Jones' name came up. Like Jerry Jones, I feel like all his business is already out there. Like I think we know everything that he's done with the party bus and all the other stuff. And he may not care. I don't know. But I don't know, man. It's. Rich people, when you're rich, you have money, you do all sorts of crazy things that poor people can't afford to do.
Look at Eric K made it. God, Billy, what a suck up.
Yeah, Billy knows what's up.
Oh, Billy knows who to suck up to now?
Yeah, good job, Billy.
That was fast.
In the Jerry Jones stuff in there too, it's like apparently Jerry's been kind of like Dan Snyder's trying to reach out to Jerry because my theory has always been that Jerry loves Dan Snyder because he will do whatever Jerry tells him to do. And he's a terrible owner whose team doesn't win football games.
Well, Chucky the doll just woke up because it sounds like he's turning on Jerry.
Right, exactly. Like Jerry's not answering his calls, not helping him out. And so like he's trying to reach out. There's also a thing in here about how Snyder's strategy is to, quote, run out the clock on the congressional and league investigations, betting that Democrats will lose control of the House in January, ending the committee's interest in his franchise, a person close to Snyder says, which is just like, I'm just gonna filibuster. Like physically filibuster this congressional investigation in my thing. But as Wickersham and Van Natta point out, the looming factor is the question of what Mary Jo White, the investigation, who's been investigating this for 9 months, what she finds about the alleged sexual assault of a woman on his plane in April 2009. That could be.
What about the previous sexual?
But that's the case he had already settled.
Right, but that's if they find something that he personally committed some type of sexual assault, then that's
the allegation though. That's already the allegation. That's allegedly why he settled the case. He said he settled the case because it was cheaper than going to court.
And then there's the allegation that he tried to pay him $1 million not to interview with Beth Wilkinson.
Well, I think when he settled that case, part of it had a gag order, so they weren't supposed to talk, but Wilkinson could have them break the gag order, but Snyder's legal team said no. And so that is kind of hazy.
I think my favorite part about this whole report was that find it real quick. It's like no one from the Washington team was allowed to speak with us on this story. However, they did refer us to a statement from multiple partners at a multinational law firm Like, I mean, do you know how much those guys are billing like $1,000 an hour, and they're writing up like statements to like defend Dan Snyder? It's crazy.
Well, I mean, Dan Snyder has FU money, and he's stressing the FU part of it as he goes through this process where, you talk about running out the clock. He's fine with being hated. It's just I don't know, man. I hope that guy can work through his issues and find some happiness, because clearly he's very unhappy, and he's appears to have hurt a lot of people through the course of his ownership of the team, from the fans to the women that worked in that organization. And I think Breech is right. Like, it doesn't matter what comes from this report from Beth Wilkinson. Ain't nothing going to change. It has to be something criminal where he actually gets arrested. And then, because the owners have to be sure that their laundry's not going to be aired out there. It's sort of like, not to bring up old stuff, but remember when Tiger Woods ran into the fire hydrant and all the stuff that came out of that? And not nary a golfer spoke up about, oh, this is weird, because the concern was that, okay, our laundry is going to be out there as well. And I think it's sort of just, again, it's like the Illuminati stuff, all this stuff that goes on in what's the Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman movie?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, it's that. It's like a bunch of Eyes Wide Shut craziness that random folks aren't privy to, and then you're like, what in the world is going on in that place?
And also tying his future to running out the clock on Congress and hoping the midterms go one way or the other. Just 538 runs the election projections. They have the House staying the same, a 30% chance that the Democrats win the House and the Senate, which, if that happens, then Snyder his plan didn't work.
Right.
And so he's literally hitching his wagon to something that has a 30% chance of failing. So it's just an insane plan that's your plan. Like,
what else is insane?
$1,000 amateur money for a lawyer? Is that right?
An hour?
Yeah.
No, that's
I've never paid one.
That's highfalutin.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty sizable hourly billing rate.
By the way, Billy just admitted that he's never seen Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, Billy hasn't seen anything.
We probably shouldn't be talking about it. Billy's not even.
We're gonna have a big time off season training regimen with Billy.
Brinson, by the way, Tom mentioned in the
comments.
Fired.
HR will be calling us if we make Billy watch that.
All right, Breech, quit talking for a second. Tom mentioned in the comment that Billy, can you thank Brady, Billy, and Brinson both for the donation to the City Dogs and City Kitties?
City Kitties.
Tom matched it $200.
Yeah, Tom said in his iTunes review that he would match it, and so. Thank you for doing that. We have the Jets run the table. The Jets run the table.
Wait, what charity did Brady end up?
City Dogs and City Kitties of DC.
Is that a New York? Of what?
DC.
District of Columbia.
Basically, when shelters are overrun and they're having to euthanize the various dogs or cats, this charity, and we like dug through the financial. We wanted to vet it, and not like just donate like $1,000 to Breech.
Right.
The Brinson Beer Fund.
Yeah. Right.
And shout out to one of our followers that at halftime of this game, when 0 touchdowns had been scored, said that me and Brinson should donate $1,000 every time a Thursday night touchdown gets scored in October. It was at 0.
Yeah.
At the time of the game.
By the way, it's great that you guys are helping the dogs and cats, but Brady could have saved a lot of money if he had said for every win that the Bears pull off, because he'd be a richer man by the end of the season.
Bears
fans Jets play the Bears, I think.
I think the Jets are going to win, which is bad news for Brady.
This is one more thing about the Snyder thing. I love this paragraph.
Sorry,
just do a just read the whole thing, Brinson.
It's like a team spokesperson called it, quote, simply ridiculous and utterly false, end quote, that Snyder ever said that he could blow up the league, or that the league, quote, can't F, end quote, with him, or that, quote, the NFL is a mafia, end quote, or all, quote, all owners hate each other, end quote. It's like he never said those specific things. That's ridiculous. But he very clearly said.
I'm trying to think, like, who is Dan Snyder? Because he came into the league as like a doughy-eyed guy, like a sort of naive young dude, 34 years old, and now he just sort of, his testes dropped, and all of a sudden he got a little chest on his hair. Now he's
in that story too. They said that like when he was trying to push to get FedEx Field to get the Super Bowl,
and he crapped all over the Bidwells,
and he's just like thrashing the Bidwells for being like cheap and like all just crazy.
And that was actually 3 years into his ownership, so that was 4 years, 2003. So he didn't waste much time. Clarence, by the way, in the comments says we should donate to Costanza's Human Fund.
I love the Human Fund.
And imagine that FedEx Field has never been talked about for another Super Bowl before or since.
Yeah,
So that was it. That was his
crap.
window.
All
Yeah,
right,
now
so it is.
By the way, somebody says Brady just looked under the couch cushions for change. Yeah, Brady covered the fees for the donation too. Like Brady's. I credit Brady for his surprisingly quick need to donate $1,000 and a willingness to do it.
No, he's moving some money around. So it is October 14th, 2022. October 14th, 2025, Breech. Does Dan Snyder own the Commodores?
He owns 2 teams. That's
right.
how crazy this. No, he's still going to own them.
3 years from now, Brinson.
I'm going to say no.
It ain't gonna be because he gave it up. They're gonna have to push him out.
Yeah. It's going to be because something comes out of this investigation from Mary Jo White, or the owners.
It's gonna have to be bad.
Or the owners find out that he's been like doing. You remember somebody accused him of like cheat, like basically like embezzling off like the ticket sales and like not giving.
Where did that go? Where did that story go? I mean, I'm telling you, he's got dirt. He's got a laundry list of stuff he's looking to put out there. Let me ask you this: would you rather him own the team in 3 years and then know all the dirt that he has in his little secret book, or would you rather?
He can have the team for 40 years if I get all that. If I get these dossiers. What do you think? Like the most, like I mean, like
oh, it's gonna be crazy. It is gonna be some off the wall. It's gonna be like some steel dossier level craziness.
Because like the stuff that billionaires do,
exactly.
And like these are like football billionaires who, yeah, I mean, like it's. What do you think he has on Goodell? Like, what if he had like he could prove that Goodell, like Deflategate and Spygate, like Goodell orchestrated him to take down the Patriots and Belichick. Like that would be fun.
That'd be like the anti-Patriots.
Yeah,
because like the Browns, they were at the Browns game trying to cheat on the Bengals. Is that what it was, Breech? I can't remember the details of that.
Oh yeah, when they taped the Bengals.
Yeah, they taped it. Can you imagine taping the Bengals and not doing
the
it
bad
as a joke?
the Bengals who were horrible.
They were terrible.
God, I forgot about this. Under Snyder, the team sued season ticket holders who were unable to pay during the Great Recession in the late 2000s.
Hey,
I mean, it's like the economy has collapsed, and Dan Snyder suing season ticket holders who just couldn't pay, like during the greatest financial crisis of our lifetimes. Partway through the 2009 season, Snyder temporarily banned all signs from FedEx Field.
it is like a little mini dictatorship too. Like it's like you sort of walk into North Korea when you go inside the stadium. Yeah. There's a lot of things that you can't do that you can do on the outside. But hey, the man wanted the team. He got it, and he appears to be staying there. Breech thinks so. I think he's staying there too. Like I don't know what would have to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, what has to happen? The man's going to have to, stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody.
In 2004, Snyder brokered a deal with the National Park Service to remove old growth trees from the 200 feet of national parkland behind his.
That was a huge. I remember that. What year was that?
It's 2004. This guy's
unbelievable. Oh yeah, I was living in DC then. I remember that being a huge issue.
Yeah, I mean it's just unbelievable. And then the workplace stuff, the financial stuff. I mean,
if you're ranking the worst owners in the NFL, just being the worst people, he's got to be at the top of the list, right?
I don't even know who's close second.
Right, like I mean, I was
Richardson maybe, but he's gone.
Running the Panthers, and like Jimmy Haslam's terrible too. But like Dan Snyder, like not only does his team suck, like he does just everything, just flaunting it in the faces.
Pos moves exactly.
He'll outlast us at CBS.
100%.
Or cockroaches, baby.
He's gonna buy the Pick Six podcast just to fire Brinson.
That's fine. Bring it on. That'll do it for us. Wrapping up a thrilling Thursday football game, 12-7.
Billy getting a last thrash as an Eagles fan. FedEx Field is trash, he says in the comments.
No, I've been there on like several occasions, and like it's a very bad stadium. It's very bad.
It's horrible.
Mm-hmm.
You made it out alive, Billy, so that can't be that bad.
I don't know how. By the grace of God.
Yeah,
Amen.
And it's like, I mean, like I've when you walk out of there, like after you cover a game, you have to park so far away. Like it's like random parking. And you feel like it's like very sketchy in those parking lots. Like it's very dark and there's like lots of tree areas, not a lot of light. It's
a lot of tree areas.
Well, it's just like I mean, it doesn't feel very.
Hey man, Dan Snyder tried to take him down and people yelled at him, so he left those up. What do you want?
Okay, all right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We got a pick show in the podcast feed for tomorrow. We'll recap the entire week 6 on Sunday night for Breech, for Wilson. I'm Brinson. What are you doing, Breech?
You said week 6, so I'm making a 6 numbers.
Okay. I can't believe you have 6 figures on one hand. For Breech, for Wilson, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.